And I found that the young generation, since I've been engaged with young people all my life, as a professor, I think they're as good as they've always been. Now, if you look at numbers, by the way, voting records, going back, dozens of years, hasn't changed much. It's not that people don't vote anymore. And to this town, I would say, and kudos to the current mayor, he has established a lot of opportunities to volunteer, and we seem to be getting a large number of people who are willing to contribute their time in different types of committees. And so I'm not pessimistic. I mean, sometimes you need some push. I mean, I'm very pessimistic about other things, but not about this. I think people are still willing to do things if they have the opportunity, if you tell them what they could do and how they could contribute.
It's interesting you say that. I was going to ask my next question, directed first to you, Professor Ovid, and it's a related question, which is, I at least have a sense of, curious, your background in universities and working in the public school system as the, on the Board of Ed. I read an article recently by somebody I know who's a high school teacher, and it said, civic education in America today often prioritizes rights and procedures, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, while we approach patriotism and national narratives with skepticism. And that kind of aligned with my thought that really the whole concept of nationalism has been on decline in the last couple of decades, starting from the universities, but it works its way on down to curriculum at our public school systems. And to me that seemed like that makes sense, and there's less civic engagement because we're not learning or teaching that same idea of patriotism, a sense of duty to your community, to your town, to your state, to your country. Do you get that sense from your exposure in that area?
No, I think that nationalism is a very complex term in terms of civic duty. In other words, people's willingness to engage. I think as far as I know, and I'm not an expert in this, but as far as I know, I mean, in universities I see that, but I don't know the public schools. I was on the board, but I can't, I just know that the kids had a lot of ways to participate and to contribute, and people took advantage of it. So in terms of engagement and patriotism, I think that's there. Nationalism is I think the term needs more definition, but in terms of being engaged and helping the community, I think we do have the kids are involved, and we get young people. I mean, I'm the president of the council today in Leonia as a young person, and Robert, yes, and Robert here, started as a young person. Is young now too, but he started as a young person.
Yeah,
on the council.
And yet it's somewhat different. Something has happened in education in this country that has caused us to lose sight of who we are as a country. I mean, the United States of America, America is a place in North America. But to be an American is something far different. You don't become an American because, let's say, you're born here. It's because the ground doesn't have anything here. That's why Jefferson argued, and our founding fathers always argued, you have to teach people what an American is, because it's not instinctive. And so that's why they press for public education, that you have to know what it is to be an American. And that means a couple of things. Maybe it means, as we say, you vote. Maybe it means you be kind to one another. Maybe it means you don't do any harm to one another. That we raise families, that you go out and work. These are American ideals that just say to be a good American, and somehow because we're in a value system, where there is no, you don't want to say we have American values or Western values. It's sort of become deflated. And I think what has happened is it's become, what do you want to say it? It's like dissolved, where we have so many people claiming that this is what American is or can be, that we don't even know what it is anymore, and we don't teach it. I mean, you learn it through the literature.
Is that because there's less people fighting for liberty, and therefore less of an appreciation?
Well, what you did is you had people bring over, let's say, a philosophy. I mean, the major universities, which then filtered down to the schools. Let's face it, you brought over, after the war, you brought over Hegel, and you brought in Marx, and you brought in Marxist teachings into the college. And if you ask what was the most at most major universities, including Rutgers and all, it's Marxist theory. And Marxist theory is not, I would argue that in 1965 we didn't even know about it. Yeah, we studied sociology, we studied psychology. Marx, we knew about Marx and the communists, but he didn't become the father of sociology, as some places were calling him. He didn't infiltrate our literature. We learned Emerson and Thoreau and Poe. Colleges threw them out. So I think what happens is that we have got to sort of, although we're being very inclusive, we have to at least be able to, amongst ourselves, say, we are Americans and there's certain things we believe. And these can cross all cultures. It's exactly what brought everyone together. They came here with this belief, but we don't teach it. We've allowed it to become dissolved. We've allowed it to be many things to many different people, and then all of a sudden the cultural tradition is lost, and everybody feels lost within it. And I think that translates into, let's say, civic participation. It becomes really cliquish. People join groups. I mean, I would just like to see a little bit more. We have to rediscover who we are. That's who we really are and what we really believe in. And this is something that it's all embracing. It's all embracing because there's things we can believe in. I think we've lost that. I think we have to rediscover it. I'm optimistic, and my optimism tells me that this is what people are beginning to understand. They are beginning to understand that we have to find out what unites us, not what separates us. And if we can agree on what unites us, then we can manipulate around the other things to try to blend. But if we can't even agree on what unites us, then we're in trouble. But optimistically, it's changing. I see the change happening already. So I am truly optimistic. It's changing in schools. It's changing in four-year universities. They brought back the great white author. They brought back the dead authors. Emerson, Thoreau, the ones, Emerson, Civil Disobedience, all the great American writers that taught us what to be Americans, they are now putting them back in the curriculum because they found out that's what Americans need. We can build on that tradition, but it needed that foundation, and they've rediscovered it. So I'm optimistic in that regard. So.
Robert?